Hi guys, my name is Lily White. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs here at the Columbia Chamber of Commerce, back with another government affairs update. So this week is election week. Hopefully by now you've seen the results of your either ward or your school board election. We're excited to work with everyone that has been elected, and we thank all of those that ran or that put together information about the different ballot issues here in Boone County in the city of Columbia. Additionally, at City Council this week, we did talk about the Chapter 29 in the City Code regarding the Unified Development Code drive-thrus for different restaurants and different businesses. It was passed this time with language change that was worked on by both the city staff, the City Council, and the Columbia Board of Realtors, as well as some other partnering engineer and business organizations. So we're thankful to the city and to the city staff for hearing the concerns of the business community, as well as working to find the best resolution moving forward. The drive-thrus can now be facing R1 and R2, though there is still some language that affects if they are touching R1 and R2. This does affect businesses that have drive-thrus and service windows, including dry cleaners, restaurants, ATMs, and really any other business that you can think of that you would drive up to a service window. So if that is one of your businesses or is possibly in the future one of your businesses, feel free to reach out to us here at the Columbia Chamber of Commerce to get some more information about how that affects you. Additionally, Councilwoman Pat Feller did ask for information to go back to the Planning and Zoning Board regarding adding residential multifamily or RMF coded areas. So if you have any thoughts or feelings moving forward, there's no exact date on when Planning and Zoning will discuss that, but we are sure we'll see it back here shortly. Speaking of boards and commissions, at the end of council, Mayor Barbara Buffalo did bring up that there are several seats open on various boards and commissions at the city of Columbia. So if you are interested in serving on any board or commission, that is an application process which then goes in front of the city council or at minimum the mayor. Some of them do require interviews and references. You can find all of that information on como.gov. Moving on to the state, the House sent its budget to the Senate this week. So following the State of the State address by Governor Parson, he gives his recommendations to the House Budget Committee. This year that was run by House Representative Cody Smith. Last week they passed 13 different bills to be sent to the Senate. Their request for the budget was actually $2.1 billion cheaper than what Governor Parson asked for. Just because it's cheaper doesn't mean we don't already have some of those funds, and doesn't mean that those funds will be spent in a different way. But just so you all know, major cuts included things like a $250 million savings account for education spending and increases into some different infrastructure for education, as well as a reduction in money to the state's plan for Medicaid program increases. The biggest one that we're really focusing on right now is the complete cut of the $859 million for I-70. That was taken out, and they suggested putting that money aside and possibly doing something with it in the future. The important part about this information is this all gets sent over to the Senate. The Senate will have its Committee of Appropriations, which is chaired by Senator Lincoln Huff, start working on all of these bills immediately. So they've started meeting this week, and they can make any changes to this. So we're hopeful and expect to see $859 million put back into the budget regarding I-70, and we'll be working down at the Capitol on April 5th to discuss the I-70, the importance of the expansion, not just here in Columbia, but across the state of Missouri. And the Senate has even hinted at adding some funding and expanding further. Right now, the $859 would cover outside of Kansas City coming west, outside of St. Louis and St. Charles coming east, and across 13 miles in the city of Columbia. So we're hoping to see some more funding that would expand I-70 from 2 lanes on each direction to 3 lanes each direction, and they expect that it will cost about $2.1 to $2.3 billion to do the full expansion. Things that were included but not fully funded in the state budget include a rate increase for child care providers. They did leave in $78 million which is a bit less than Governor Parson had requested, as well as pre-K support for families that qualify for free and reduced lunch at public schools. Right now, it has in $56 million, but again, less than Governor Parson did request. Some of the good news, especially for topics that the Columbia Chamber of Commerce and business community are working on right now, include that public school transportation was fully funded out of the House for the second year in a row. Last year was the first year in 30 years that it was fully funded, so we're glad to see that continue. And $70.8 million increase in aid to state colleges and universities was put in as well. This would result in a 7% increase for community colleges and a 5% increase to four-year institutions, with 2% of that being tied to a performance evaluation, of which has not been fully finalized yet. So those are both high priorities that the Columbia Public School System and all of our higher education partners have identified that were involved in the Columbia Chamber's priorities this year. So we're excited to see those moving forward. They're not quite across the finish line yet, but we think they all stand a good chance. Additionally, in the budget, there was some language added in regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion training, being that if a university or a bidding business has any training required that disqualifies them from being eligible for any funding or service contract with the state, it's important that this language be removed, and we are hearing good things from the Senate about them trying to strip that language out, but that would disqualify a lot of our higher education as well as our large businesses, because they do require diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging training. So if you have a senator or have a connection to the state capitol that you are willing to reach out to, please call them and let them know how important it is to take some of that language out. It could result in losing accreditation to several of our higher education institutions, but also quite a bit of complication at the bidding level. Lastly, at the state capitol, our bill on upskilling workforce credentials that was submitted on behalf of the state by the Missouri Chamber of Commerce has been sent over to the Senate. It's about 60% of the way through the process, which means we have a really good chance of seeing that move to the finish line this year. So our Chamber President, Matt McCormick, will be testifying that on April 5th at 8 a.m. in the Senate General Law Committee. So we're excited to go forward and encourage the Senate to vote on this as well, and hope to get that all the way to the governor's desk this year. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me here at the Chamber. I'm here to help you answer any of those questions, as well as make the government make a little bit more sense. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon.